Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, the latest game to come out of Respawn Entertainment, who are responsible for titles like Apex Legends and Titanfall. Quite a shift to go from high-paced first-person shooters to a story-driven single-player adventure. And for their first attempt, they clearly looked at some From Software titles for inspiration, because Fallen Order takes a lot of cues from those games. But make no mistake, Respawn have unquestionably added their own spin on this formula in an epic Star Wars themed adventure. Despite having seen all of the movies, I'm not really the biggest fan of Star Wars, but I definitely find a lot of concepts in Star Wars to be really cool. Pod racing, galactic warfare, lightsaber battles, that stuff is undeniably awesome to me. And it's that last one, lightsaber battles, that made me want to try this game. Just a quick heads up, this video is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't played this yet, it's up to you if you want to continue. Don't say I didn't warn you. Fallen Order is set shortly after the events of Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. You play as a young Jedi Padawan named Cal Kestis who works as a scrapper in a junkyard. Cal is in hiding because the Empire is tracking down any remaining Jedi and wiping them out after Order 66. When one of Cal's friends is put in life-threatening danger, Cal uses Force powers to save him. This tips the Empire off to Cal's location, and he is eventually confronted by an Imperial Inquisitor named the Second Sister. Fortunately, he gets rescued just in time by a former Jedi Knight named Seer and her pilot Grease. Seer takes Cal to the planet Bogano and asks him to enter an ancient vault. Inside, he finds a small droid named BD-1 who shows him a message from a former Jedi Master named Eno Cordova. Cordova explains that within the vault lies a holocron that contains a list of Force-sensitive children, which Seer believes could be used to help rebuild the Jedi Order. So that's the basis of the story, and using Grease's spaceship, the Mantis, Cal travels from planet to planet searching for Cordova's clues in order to find the key to open the vault. As you can probably imagine, Empire soldiers are absolutely everywhere, but no need to worry, because you are effectively a one-man army. Seriously, these enemies don't stand a chance against the combined might of your lightsaber and your Force powers. I gotta say, the combat in this game is a lot of fun. There's a nice flow to your lightsaber swings, it feels very natural, and your Force powers offer the player some creativity in terms of how you wish to deal with certain enemies, when you unlock them all. Cal explains that his connection with the Force is damaged, which means at the beginning of your adventure you only have access to one Force power, slow. Eventually, as you progress through the game, you'll unlock push and pull. If an enemy is firing a missile at you, for example, you can use push to fling it right back at them, which is really quite satisfying, but nothing beats the satisfaction you will feel when you are able to pull an enemy right up to you and stab them for an easy kill. This feels amazing. Dodging and attacking repeatedly is a viable option, but parrying at the right time can stagger your opponents, allowing you to inflict massive damage. And of course, in true Jedi fashion, if you parry just before a blaster bolt hits you, then you can reflect it right back at the enemy. You only really have 3 default swings for your lightsaber, which can be performed by tapping the attack button. If you want to unlock more abilities, you need to do so via the skill tree. The tree is divided into 3 sections: Force, Lightsaber, and Survival. It's pretty self-explanatory. The Force tree develops your Force powers, the Lightsaber tree offers new offensive capabilities, whilst the Survival tree increases your defenses and whatnot. You'll get plenty of experience points as simply killing enemies will grant you them, and when you rest at these save points that are scattered all over each world, the fodder enemies will all respawn. Yeah, it's a very FromSoft kind of design in that regard. If you've ever played Sekiro, then you'll notice a lot of similarities between that game and this one. How about a single boss that you fight multiple times at the beginning, midway point, and end of the game? There's even a part where you will obtain the ability to breathe and swim underwater, opening up new areas that were previously inaccessible. I'm totally cool with this, the game is fun and that's what really matters, right? It sure as hell ain't the first game to take these design elements, and I imagine it won't be the last. This game also has difficulty settings, and the hardest one can be very frustrating. The parry timing is tight as hell in this setting. Conversely, the easiest setting is an absolute joke. I know it's there for people to experience the game and story without hindrance, but I wouldn't suggest using this mode on your first playthrough. I finished this game on the second hardest difficulty setting, which I thought was well balanced. The boss battles left me a bit polarized. I found the fights with enemies that use lightsabers to be much more enjoyable than the fights with monsters or drones. I think they are less formulaic and require more skill. Some of them felt quite grand and spectacular, however. When you fight this ATST for the first time, it feels great watching it fall to the ground in a heap. If I had to pick my favourite, it would probably be the fight with Taron Malicos. I mean, this is a genuinely challenging encounter. And I gotta say, the final fight at the very end of the game is a great battle. Searching for Cordova's clues leads you to a bunch of different planets that you can visit at any time when they become available. The planets are all really big, and there's so many hidden secrets and treasures for you to find. As a result, this is quite the exploratory game. The first planet you visit after Bogano is called Zepho, and it's fucking huge. I got lost on this planet several times when I was trying to make my way back to my spaceship. It was times like these that made me wish there was some sort of fast travel in this game. Not necessarily across all the save points, but at the very least from any save point to your ship. But I can totally understand why this was not added, as it would greatly diminish the incentive to explore, because outside of the main quest you do, there's no real point in exploring the rest of the planet. There's no side missions or quests, just hidden stuff like upgrades to your force power bar, your health bar, and the amount of health stims you can carry at any time. It's worth doing some exploring at the very least, just so you have more than 2 health stims for your adventure. The only other upgrades you can find are ones that affect your little drone BD-1, who accompanies you throughout your journey. I think anyone who's played this can attest that BD-1 is awesome, probably the best character in the whole game. Fallen Order also has a bunch of underground sections that you will have to navigate. I like these areas. Not only did they tap into my curiosity, but they didn't slow down the pace of the game either. I found the puzzles enjoyable because it's all about using your force powers correctly. It's during these sections that you will unlock additional force powers that you need to solve the rest of the puzzles with. Visually, I mean, this game looks amazing. It's really cool seeing your ship blast off into hyperspace, and I love the cutscenes that play when you first land on a new planet. They really nail the Star Wars vibe here. The music is alright. I didn't really notice much of it, honestly. It just felt like generic Star Wars music, if that makes sense, and the sound design is as you would expect. There's something really satisfying about hearing that familiar noise the lightsaber makes when it is swung about. When it comes to the voice acting, I think all the characters do a good job sounding natural and realistic, but I can't help but feel that Cal's performance is a bit flat at times, monotone even at points when he should sound far more emotional. Maybe it's because he is the main character and as a result has the most voice lines, but I didn't find this to be an issue with anyone else. Speaking of the characters, I'd like to touch on something I find a bit bizarre. A lot of characters in this game are based off of Hollywood actors. Now this is my personal opinion, as is this whole review, but I feel like this diminishes some of the mystique that comes with a video game. When I discovered these character designs looked exactly like the actors who played them, it immediately made me think less of the game. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but I couldn't help it. I'm playing the game, having fun, and all of a sudden, Forrest Whitaker shows up. It seriously threw me off. Well, turns out Forrest Whitaker stars in the movie Rogue One as the same character, so his inclusion makes the most sense, but I still found it slightly off-putting. Has this become something of a trend in video games recently? I see titles like Death Stranding with Norman Reedus and Mads Mikkelsen amongst others, and I find it a bit odd. I don't have a problem with 1 or 2 characters being Hollywood actors. I'm reminded of games like Horizon Zero Dawn, for example, with Lance Reddick. But when it's every other character, I personally would prefer otherwise. Ultimately, this doesn't affect gameplay in any way, shape or form, but I wanted to mention it here. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Now my only real issue with this game is that I think it goes on longer than it needs to. I believe a big reason for this is the fact that you have to go back to all of the planets bar 1 multiple times. Dathomir was the last planet I went to, and just as you think you've reached the end of it, your lightsaber breaks, so you need to fly to another planet, search through it, solve the puzzles, kill the bad guys, and then head back to Dathomir and finish up over there. This game should have been 2 or 3 hours shorter at least. It's too long considering there is nothing else for you to do besides the main adventure. Exploring in this game is not engaging. You're just aimlessly wandering around each planet looking for stuff that's slightly hidden, and the rewards are rudimentary, especially towards the end of the game. All the meaningful rewards you will receive naturally as you play through the story, besides additional stim packs. There's very few NPCs to talk to, and even the ones you can talk to don't offer anything of real value, it's just commentary on something that's just happened. There's a severe lack of world building here, it doesn't keep me intrigued the longer the game goes on. I very rarely felt enticed to read the databanks you receive whenever you scan stuff as well. I imagine if you're a huge fan of the Star Wars universe, then this would be much more appealing, but I was indifferent to it. Despite these slight issues, I had a good time with Fallen Order. It was fun playing as a Jedi and going around destroying everything with my lightsaber and force powers. I tell you what, this game has some epic moments in it. When you have to fight your way through waves of enemies in this stadium, when you ride this big ass bird after climbing that huge tree ending with a fight against the Ninth Sister, this crazy sequence on the back of a giant bat-like creature, and of course, hijacking an AT-AT. I also thought it was really cool that they gave you a double-bladed lightsaber, fucking Darth Maul up in this bitch. It's just a shame it's nowhere near as powerful as the normal lightsaber, which I definitely prefer. I enjoyed having the option to customize my lightsaber as well, especially changing its color. This kind of stuff is pure fan service, and there's a lot of that in this game. Of course, now it's time to talk about the biggest moment of fan service, Darth Vader. When this guy shows up, it's like, oh shit. He is so powerful, you really get the sense that you are no match for him, and I think that was done superbly well. His force powers are just on a completely different scale to anything you have seen before. This part where he flicks Cere away like it's nothing is hilarious. This is a cameo appearance done right. It's one of the best parts of the game, without question. I suppose all that's left to talk about is the story, and it's pretty good. I don't really have much else to say, honestly. It's not bad, it's not amazing either, it's just pretty good. I definitely think it goes on longer than it needs to, though. Also, isn't it funny how at the very end of the game, Cal destroys the holocron? Guess that means the entire journey was a complete waste of time. No, but I understand why he chooses to do this. He sees a vision of himself in the future, eventually becoming an Inquisitor after the Empire track him and the children down. Either way, the journey was definitely enjoyable and something I can easily recommend to any fan of action-adventure games. If you're a fan of Star Wars, you have to play this. There's way too much fan service for it to be ignored. It feels like it's been a while since we have had a great Star Wars game that hasn't been dragged down by some sort of bullshit, whether it be microtransactions or anything else. Well, I'm happy to report that none of that is present here. Above all else, this is a fun game. Thank you so much for watching.